Well, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission says all processes are now in place ahead of the 2018 historic elections set down for Monday. The ZEC, as it's known, has urged political players to wind up their campaigns tomorrow. The electoral body also says it's dispatched personnel and voting material well in advance to ensure that the process goes ahead smoothly. There are no delays on Monday. Let's cross now to our reporter, Tsepiso Makwetla. She's also in Bulawayo. Tsepiso, thank you very much for being with us. So, Bulawayo, an opposition stronghold. Is it going to be a really hot race in this second city?
Francis, it's very hard to tell at the moment. We were actually saying how the enthusiasm seems somewhat muted here in Bulawayo. People are saying they're going to vote, but there's none of that excitement that we saw in Harare. But certainly people are out on the streets joining in various campaigns. The opposition MDC has had various campaigns, including drive-throughs, various townships. We have ZANU PF that has a major rally tomorrow. As you say, not necessarily their playing ground in terms of the governing party, but they are trying to ratchet up as many numbers. And interestingly enough, women seem to populate quite a lot of those rallies. And we want to talk about the impact of the elections, not only on vulnerable societies, including women in Bulawayo and other parts of Zimbabwe, but just generally how candidates are covered and whether or not these candidates are present. We are joined now in the studio, our makeshift studio here, Francis, by Jenny Williams, who's with WAZA, that's a Women of Zimbabwe Arise, to talk about some of these things. Jenny, a very good evening to you, and thank you so much for bracing yourself with the chilly weather to talk to us. I want to talk about the numbers. How many female candidates do we have with the parties, all of them, especially after the primaries? Is there a significant number?
Good evening. No, not at all. It's very sad that I should say to you we are shocked as a women's movement about how few women there are. It's not significant. It's nothing to actually talk about. Sorry.
Is it a cultural issue? And I'm asking this question because of this uproar recently, MDCT leader Nelson Chamisa making a jibe at Emerson Mnangagwa, saying that if he won 5% of the vote credibly, he's even willing to give him his sister. Some say really belying the kind of attitude, the genderist or gender-biased thinking around women in general, women in society as leaders. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at the best of times, the political environment needs to be able to be safe, and political parties, government, need to facilitate gender equality and give women the opportunities that they need in order to participate. But with the onset of the coup, or whatever we want to call it, the new dispensation starting in November last year, there was much more of a firm patriarchal rise that came about. Some say it was because of the First Lady and the positions she took. I don't believe it. It's just this rise in militarism, patriarchy, and women have just been pushed aside. As normal, men will just say, "Hi, mana, stand aside, mama. It's not your time. We are the ones who need to be there." And the jibes that you've seen Chamisa playing is just not one. It's just been quite a few different incidents, carrying a goat on his back, doing press-ups, that young male lion attitude that we are seeing him play, into contrast with the aging Robert Mugabe. Even Emerson Mnangagwa has been making all sorts of comments, telling his wife, "This is not for you to work about, it's my work, you must do your work." There's been such a lot of gender-based comments against our ZEC chairperson. Instead of challenging her on the basis of maybe the transparency and accountability around the Electoral Commission, they have gone into her personal life, into her personal. I come from Matabeleland, unashamedly so. We have a history of a genocide called Gukurahundi, where people were killed because they were supposedly dissidents. One of our presidential candidates, Dr. Thokozani Kupe, was threatened with violence, nearly burnt in a hut, and told she's a dissident. I have been called a dissident many times purely because I defend human rights. This climate is a climate where men are saying it's up to us and no other. And I don't know why we should be going so backward.
Jenny, I'm curious though, there are quota systems in place. Electoral law does say there needs to be 50-50 representativity. What is failing?
Well, here's the thing. Some of us never believed in quota systems because we believe that candidates also must have merit. Male or female, they must have merit. So when you put a quota system like Zimbabwe did, and we've gone through the first 5 years of the quota system, another 5 left, you then have a whole lot of candidates coming in under a zebra or quota system, going into parliament and being told by men, you are just here for the lipstick, you are here to decorate, you have no legitimacy here in the political landscape of Zimbabwe. So they have not been able to carry issues. But also, women have to be part of a solution and not part of a problem. It's them that allow the patriarchal stereotypes, and they must stop doing that and represent people.
Jenny, thank you very much. Jenny Williams is with WOZA, Women of Zimbabwe Arise. The Gender Commission has itself complained about not only the manner in which the media cover women candidates, but the issues and the questions that they asked. This is something that we will be tracking as the SABC team here in Bulawayo and across the whole of Zimbabwe. It's back to you.
Thank
Francis.
you. Tsepiso Makwetla live for us in Bulawayo. And yes, how concerning. WOZA, Women of Zimbabwe Arise, saying there's basically chauvinism on full display, misogyny even in the run-up to those elections.